Hello. This video examines the tower clock at the Great Island Stables and its journey to return it to keeping time. The clock is an E. Howard 00. The E. Howard Clock Company manufactured many historically significant clocks, especially around the turn of the 20th century. And the Model 00 was produced from the late 1800s through the 1930s. This image of the 00 appeared in the 1890 E. Howard catalog. Our clock was built around 1905 in Roxbury, Massachusetts, and using the Smithsonian Digital Library, we've even located the original sale to William Ziegler Jr. in the E. Howard Clock Company papers. The clock is entirely weight-driven. Winding the clock uses a cable and a series of pulleys and raises the weight up, and that powers the clock for about 8 days until it needs winding again. The lower portion of the movements act as the engine of the clock. Energy flows from the weight to the barrel, to the ratchet wheel, the maintaining spring, and then finally the great wheel. This provides the driving force. The upper portion of the movements regulate that power. When we first examined the mechanism, we discovered that the suspension spring, which connects the pendulum to the movements, was broken. When properly connected, the pendulum's motion moves the pallet and the pallet forks, which lock and release the escapement wheel. Gravity supplies the power, but the interaction between the pendulum, pallet forks, and escapement wheel control that energy and release it at a steady, regulated pace. The center wheel right here connects the power side to the timekeeping side. From there, the power is transmitted out of the movements through the main drive shaft and down to the motion works. The motion works are the gears behind the clock face that drive the minute and hour hands and form the mechanical connection between the time train and the clock face. Our initial assessment was that we needed to replace the suspension spring, oil the clock movements, and balance the motion works. So we replaced the suspension spring and the clock ran for about 10 minutes before stopping. Closer inspection revealed that a pin on the pallet arbor was protruding and slightly contacting the suspension spring. So I filed that pin back to create some clearance between the pin and the spring. Following this, I found a picture of a renovated 00, and they had also filed that pin down flat. Next, we focused on lubrication. We had oiled the bushings, but internal dirt and corrosion were still creating resistance and stopping the clock after about 20 minutes. So we disengaged the pallet from the escapement wheel, essentially removing any regulation, and let the clock spin out freely. So while the clock was running really fast, we forced oil into the bushings, and that pushed out a lot of dirt and rust. So now we were getting a few hours before the clock would slow down and stop. So we disconnected the drive shaft, and the clock movements ran continuous. So we concluded that the restriction was coming somewhere from the motion works. With the drive shaft disconnected, the motion works were carefully lubricated at all friction points. Once this was completed, the clock ran without interruption. As of now, the clock has been running continuously and accurately for several hundred hours. We still need to inspect the exterior face and hands, and I'll outline what I believe needs to be done to ensure this historic piece remains reliable well into the future. But for now, this finely crafted historic clock, built over a century ago, remains a remarkable example of Great Island's history. Thanks for listening.